So slow. Hey guys.
Hello.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. What's the date?
It's Wednesday, and the date is the 18th of June, 2025.
Tomorrow is Juneteenth.
That's right. It is Juneteenth, and my kid has no school, so I have to.
Yeah, I have the day off.
I think we're going to go to Playland.
Don't do it. You can't do things like that on days off from school.
Oh, because there would be 1,000 people?
Yes.
You're right. Never mind. We should just stay home. Anyway, topics today are real-time communication. Actually, that's going to be on the show, so listen to the show on Saturday.
Last week. Can't talk about that.
We can't talk about it. Never mind. We don't talk about it. It's non-real time. Can I get a hand clap? Mm-hmm. Oh, the technology, and WIB, whatever that stands for. And then TikToks.
Women in Black. So, Steve,
correct.
It's a week from the day after tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's the last day.
I have
Steve.
6 days of work left.
Oh my God. Then
That's
the
crazy.
real work starts.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
6 days of my Yale medical work.
Are you going to steal a
Now he can't phone it in. No,
What do you mean? I have my own stuff.
Can't you just go in the closet there and take a bunch of...
Why would I do that?
I don't
Like
know.
what?
Because in case we need it for...
I own a
Brooms?
stethoscope.
What is he going to do?
Do you have the doctor's, like the lab coats? And
stethoscope?
Yeah.
Can you get an MRI machine out of it?
No, hemorrhoid.
one
Do you think we
piece
could
at a
fit
time.
that in here?
One piece at a time. It took them 20 years.
20 years of just pieces of metal and magnets.
6 days of work. That's freaking awesome, Steve. What a awesome career you had, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 30 years plus residency, so 33 years.
So now when you are no longer at the hospital, is that when I can ask you for medical advice?
You can always ask me for medical advice.
He just will.
I'm never going to give you specific medical advice.
Steve explained to me, I'm having pain in my elbow right here.
Yeah.
In both elbows, right? And Steve explained to me it's called the ulnar nerve.
Yeah, the ulnar nerve goes right there. That's your funny bone, right?
Yep. So basically there's a channel there that a bunch of nerves goes through that go to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And any blood vessels and shit. Oh, and that's those two fingers.
Yeah.
Okay. And so apparently I sleep like this with my hands under the pillow, depending on which side I'm on. And when your arm is like this blew my mind when Steve told me. When your arm is like this, it actually, he explained it as...
So there's a sheath,
yes,
a nerve sheath.
Like a Chinese finger trap.
It's like the finger trap, Whereas when it stretches, it compresses.
So this is the stretched position.
So this is a stretched position. The most relaxed position is 60 degrees.
Okay.
If you straighten it all the way out, it kinks a little bit.
It kinks. Okay.
This is relaxed, and this is stretched.
Got it.
And that can, in some people, compress the nerve. So if you're like this for 3 hours, or whatever, in bed,
Yeah.
you're compressing the nerve the whole time, and then you can get ulnar neuropathy at the elbow.
So you know what he told me to
Don't
do?
do that.
He said, don't do that. The problem is I'm asleep, and I try.
Yes.
I'm constantly like straightening my arms when I wake up in the middle of the night. Anyhow.
But the way you can't control what you do when you're asleep, right?
Right.
So you have to do things to make it so you can't do that.
Right.
So the simplest thing is just put an elbow pad on.
Right.
So it's just literally too bulky for you to physically close up your elbow all the way. And it doesn't have to be anything special. You can get it from the sporting goods store or or any pharmacy. Or you could even just put a loose ace bandage over it.
Now there's a couple of surgeries that they can perform. One of them is they just take your arm off from here down.
Yeah, then it makes the problem go
totally
away
gets
completely.
rid of the problem. No, apparently they go in and they can open up the pathway a little bit
Yeah.
to make it less tight, but it's not 100%. It's not like getting the carpal tunnel.
Carpal tunnel is more straightforward and a little bit easier. But some people also, they just have the other type of ulnar neuropathy at the elbow that you get is from just direct compression. Every time you lean your elbow on some hard surface, you can be causing compression.
I do it. Oh, look at it. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
everything I do
based
is wrong.
upon your anatomy, it
Yeah.
may be okay, right? Depends on how much tissue you have there. So they could do what's called an ulnar transposition, where they just literally move the nerve to a more protected location to reduce the external compression.
That sounds unbelievably painful to me.
It's again not 100% effective. It's not as straightforward as the carpal tunnel release, which
Yeah.
they just open up the carpal tunnel, make more room for your median nerve there. But it's best to just avoid developing the problem in the first place, just with good habits.
It's really weird though. I'm super comfortable with my hand under the pillow.
Yeah,
To me,
that's
that
not
is-
good either. You
yeah.
shouldn't be sleeping on your hand.
Oh, I love
You
it.
should also, the same thing, like when you bend your wrist, that also can compress the nerve.
Okay.
And so you shouldn't be, so like sleeping like this is bad. Right?
Yes,
It's like the worst
yeah.
thing to do.
So-
unless you got all your nerves going.
So if you
You just put it on a pillow. Just put a pillow between, like under your arm, under your hand, and it kind of positions you in a certain way. So that could do it as well.
yeah, somebody said, "Holy crap, no elbows on the table is actually good advice." It's
Yeah,
true.
one thing people do is like when they read,
Yeah.
they put their
Yeah.
they hold the book like this. That's not good. Or you're driving and you have your elbow on the handle.
Oh, I do that all the time. Everything I do is wrong.
Yeah.
Holy Christ. Well, now that you don't have a job, you should hang out with me and literally tell me, stop
Be your
doing
life
that. What are
coach.
you doing? What the hell is
Yeah,
that
that's what
going
I
on,
live for,
Jay?
Jay.
Stop eating that. Jay, it's 11 o'clock at night. Put the ice cream away. Or I guess you
No,
join me at this
I-
point.
At this point, I'm saying, Jay, pass it this
Pass
way.
that shit over here, man. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's physical wear and tear on the nerves, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just, think about it, it's amazing they last 60, 70, 80, 90 years. And the wear and tear is greatest at the joints, right? It's just like you take a wire, you bend it a million times, it frays, right? You don't want to do that.
But your body's supposed to be healing it, like rebuilding it.
But there's a limit. So the most common neuropathy that we see is carpal tunnel, median neuropathy at the wrist. Number 2 is ulnar neuropathy at the elbow. Number 3 is ulnar neuropathy at the wrist, which is just a different canal in the wrist.
So I'll tell you right now, I had carpal tunnel in this hand. And it really hit me hard. I was doing the beginnings of building a stone wall at my house. I always wanted to build.
And you're left-handed, so it
Yeah.
usually happens more in the dominant hand.
I mean, the surgery takes 10 minutes. It's
Recovery takes 2 weeks.
recovery's more than that, a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so Jay is asking Steve to be the boss now. No, it's not going to happen. So I just want you guys to know, though, if you're having numbness or like electrical pain in your hands and it's carpal tunnel, in my experience, it was an unbelievably awesome experience. The moment I woke up from the surgery, the pain was gone and it never came back.
Yeah.
And I had almost no pain post-op. It's a very low pain surgery, which is fantastic.
Yeah. No, they got that down well. They used to like slice you from here to here. Now they just go in with a little camera and do an internal
They
cut.
cut you a little, like 2
Yeah.
millimeters. And
Yeah,
they
it's very
put-
little, just enough to get a little camera through there.
You won't feel the knife.
Yeah.
Give me the knife.
All right, what else we can
I'm
talk
doing
about
it
now that
again.
we've cured all your medical
I'm trying to
problems?
find this TikTok that I saw that I want you guys to, because it relates directly to what you were saying.
The
but
hand clapping one?
no, well, let's do the hand clapping one, and I'll try to find the other one in the meantime.
All right.
So yeah, so
I don't
hand
know what
clapping.
to do with my arms.
It's just
I'll just sit like this. Okay, hi guys. Hope
Hi.
you're having a good Wednesday. I can't do that.
all right. Let's get to this.
On pillows like this.
Yeah.
Let's go to this hand clapping one real quick.
All right, here we
I
go.
saw somebody
Or
tagged
zero
us
G
in
would be good.
this.
Just live your life.
That's
with
true,
zero.
except you freaking
Whoops.
your
do have
eyes
other
would get
problems.
funny.
There we go. Whoosh. There we go. Star. All right. Let's see what this is and see if there's any science behind it. I don't know.
She's wearing a white thing, so,
So yeah, it's
not a
basically a
lab
lab
coat,
coat. It's a lab shirt. It's modern. No.
You can do this on both sides. But if you look a bit like this doing it, is that you trying?
he's putting that on.
Then you might want to get checked. He does have a brain tumour. What kind of brain tumour do you have?
So the brain tumour I've got is called meningioma,
Whereabouts is that in your brain?
around right here.
Okay. Now, we didn't know. We saw a video about the hand clap from a doctor. We already knew he had the brain tumour. That is not the only way to find out if you have a brain tumour. You might just have really bad coordination. But if you can't move your hands like that, then it is best to get checked. Now, we're not doing these videos to scare you or give you anxiety. It is literally to spread information. And because I'm part of the Creator Fund, if we get enough views, then we get money from TikTok, and potentially Lee could get his surgery private because he's been waiting 3 years to have his brain tumour removed and his symptoms are progressively getting worse. If you stick around and wait 1 minute, to have a brain tumour removed costs around £28,000 to go private. If we can get TikTok to pay for that, then that would be amazing. The algorithm really likes it when you share. So if you can share...
Anyway, all right,
yeah,
we get it. But anyway, let's look at the science of this.
It's a great example of somebody with a little bit of information. And what she's saying is not necessarily wrong. It's just wildly out of context. So this is part of the neurological exam, right? We call it rapid alternating movement, right? Yeah. You should be able to do that with both hands. Usually, like, you should know what handedness somebody is because they're going to do a little bit better, a little bit faster with their dominant hand than their non-dominant hand. What do you think that is a sign of? So what part of your brain enables you to do this?
The inside part.
Yeah, it's definitely the, it's definitely the inside part.
I mean, it's,
Anyone in the chat have a guess? If you're,
Chatters. Go ahead. Why is it all squished?
it's the coordination part of the brain.
yes.
Sure.
Where is
Yeah.
that?
That's
Ce-
the
cerebellum?
cerebellum. Yes, that's the cerebellum. So this is a test for appendicular cerebellar function, which just means your limbs. right?
Gotcha.
As opposed to the midline cerebellar function, which is like your ability to stand up straight, and balance yourself while walking. So it's called rapid alternating movement because your cerebellum coordinates the different muscle groups together, including switching rapidly back and forth between agonist and antagonist muscles, right? So if you do this, anytime where you're activating two muscles in sequence,
Was that moving against Steve?
or this, or whatever, or tapping, just tap your hand very, very quickly. Get your mind out of the gutter and tap your hand very, very quickly.
Boom!
Right. Or tapping it with rhythm.
Right.
Right. That's a test too, right? So, but anyway, so rapid alternating movement. And so if your inability to do this, it would be a sign of cerebellar dysfunction. It'll be in the cerebellar hemisphere, right? There's sort of two hemispheres and then the midline structures. So it's the ipsilateral, or the same side. Ipsilateral cerebellar hemisphere controls, the coordination of your arm and leg on that side. So if you couldn't do it on your right side, that means your right cerebellar hemisphere or the connections to it are have some sort of problem. It's not specific to a brain tumor. It could be a stroke. It could be a bleed. It could be inflammation. It could be a multiple sclerosis lesion. It could be degeneration. Could be a tumor. Any other mass
Not
effect.
a tumor.
It just localizes it to where in the brain, not what kind of problem it is,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So, but also, it's also one of 100 things, that could be wrong if you have a neurological problem, like a brain tumor. It's not like that's a sign of a brain tumor. No, that's a sign of cerebellar dysfunction. In that guy's particular case, it may have been due to a meningioma, which is a type of brain tumor, that in that part of his head that
Did it
would
look?
affect it.
Did it look like what he was doing, Steve? Did that look like it was fake, or did?
That's interesting that you say that, because when I saw it for the first time too, I'm like, that doesn't quite look right.
Mm-hmm.
Having seen many patients with that, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know if he was exaggerating a little bit or what, or if he was just trying to make sure it was clear what he was showing. It was sort of what he was doing, where they just have a hard time doing it. They don't quite get all the way over there, or it's really slow, and they might not do it each time. You know what I mean? It's just uncoordinated. Whereas he seemed to be doing it fast, and then just I don't know. It was just a little bit weird. But I don't know. I wouldn't know exactly what to make of that. I would want the kind of thing I'd want to see in person myself, and go back and forth between two hands and go back to it. And also, there's lots of other cerebellar findings that you could look for. You like to, see how it syncs up with other things as well. Right.
And the guy's been waiting like 3 years, 2 to 3 years to get this.
Well,
surgery.
meningiomas are benign tumors. They're very slow growing. They're not infiltrated. They don't spread. They don't metastasize. They don't infiltrate the tissue.
So he'll probably live.
Yeah, they're almost never fatal. But they can be what we call a benign tumor in a malignant location, meaning that the tumor itself is not causing damage to the brain or whatever, but it's by just local mass effect. It may be pushing on the brain.
Yes.
Right. First of all, it's not a tumor of brain tissue itself. A meningioma is a tumor of the meninges, which is a lining around the brain. So if it just happens to be in a place where it's pushing up against part of the brain that, because of it's like pushing it out of the way or crushing it or whatever, then it can cause a dysfunction that way. Usually they don't. Usually they don't cause focal deficits like that. Usually we only find them incidentally on imaging.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't always take them out. We just say, we'll just keep an eye on it, see what's going on. But if they become symptomatic because they happen to be in a bad location and they're pushing on something, then we take them out. Right.
Hey, people from Australia.
Brisbane.
There's 2 people.
Brisbane.
Hello,
Oh, yeah.
Brisbane.
Tell them about the
Brisbane.
link, and I'll send the link.
Oh yeah, I don't think we talked about it on here. So we have been discussing with the Australian Skeptics a possible. They wanted us to do Nautakon
Yeah.
in Australia, in Sydney.
In Sydney specifically.
So there was lots to talk about, and we're in the process now though, where we're trying to see how viable it is. Basically, how many people are going to be interested. If we don't get to a certain number, we can't even entertain it because we have to all fly out there.
We calculated our break-even numbers.
Yeah.
Basically like how much we'd have to charge per ticket, how many people would have to show up at different price points. So we just need to know, if a certain number of people email us back or take the survey and go, I would definitely go if you guys came down, and it's over that minimum number, then we'll come. Then we'll do it.
Yeah.
If it's like not even close, and it doesn't look like just the interest isn't there, then, we can't invest the very large sum of money it would take to book everything and,
Yeah.
to make it happen.
And unfortunately, everything is much more expensive now than it was, pre-pandemic and all that. It's really, reality is very different now. But God, I'd love to go just because, Australia, and I have a ton of friends out there. It's all beautiful. We'd most definitely make it over to New Zealand because I'm now talking to the people in New Zealand. So it's pretty cool. I hope things pop. But like Steve said, we got, if anything, we're going to be, in more need of funds as we move into the next phase of the SGU here, starting in 6 days, right?
Well, 6 work days.
6 work days. But Steve, you're taking a week off.
Well, I'll do the show. I'm not going to add new duties until, well, that's like the 4th of July week, right? So
yeah, so we have to,
Yeah, so I'm just basically, when my last day at work past the 4th of July, I'm not going to add any new duties. I'll just do whatever. I'll be working. But then I'm not going to dig, and then my wife and I are going to Italy for a week. So really, the end of July is when we'll be sort of digging into the new schedule, like where we're going to be doing, like adding whatever new scheduled stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
We'll just be doing sort of preparatory work throughout July. Someone asked, will you come to Toronto? The short answer is sure, we'll come to Toronto. But if you want us to come to your location, there's a few things you could do to make it more likely to happen. One person saying come to Toronto is nice, but it doesn't get us there, right? There's a couple things you could do. One is if there is a local skeptical organization, like if there's a Toronto Skeptics or whatever, and you guys have a mailing list or a roster or whatever, or email list, send out a survey among your people. Would you guys like to have the SGU come here? Would you guys go to such an event? Or send us some actual numbers so we know what we're talking about. You could also sponsor the event or find somebody to sponsor the event, and that could be a local university, for example. Right? So if they, that way, if we're going to like give a panel discussion or talk or whatever at the local university, and then we could do our live recording or whatever there, then that makes it more plausible as well. Or even just saying, here's 50 people or 100 people in the region who would come if you guys come here. That moves it up to our short list. We would actively start planning it, right? Otherwise, we'll go anywhere. Like people say, come to wherever. It's like, sure, we'll go there. But there's 1,000 cities we could potentially go to, and there's only so many weeks in the year. So, and we are planning on, again, once I'm fully retired and we sort of settle in, one of the goals is to increase the number of live events that we're doing, because they were basically limited by my schedule. I can only take off so much time per year, and I was pretty much maxing out the time that I could take off in order to do SGU and skeptical events. And now that limitation is lifted.
Yes.
So now it's really just a matter of how frequently we can book events, and where there's going to be a sufficient interest that we're going to. Because again, we have to go there. We got to book venues.
The more things we can do in a weekend or a couple days before or after, the better chances we are to go to a place. You know what I mean?
So a couple of things. One, Bob is talking smack about you and me in the chat here, Steve.
Bob, go fix your refrigerator.
Get
off Facebook.
Bob's refrigerator decided it was time to die.
Yeah.
And
with the repairman.
These guys are punks. That's what he says.
And I've been in his situation where your refrigerator, is all the food's about to go bad, and then you scramble, and then you realize that you literally have no place to put anything. Because you
gotta have a second and third refrigerator.
Yeah, so
that just happened to us. Whereas I went to open the freezer this is like a week ago or something, and like a bunch of water falls out, and things were cool but not frozen. So clearly it wasn't working.
Yeah.
But we do have our old refrigerator. We just moved into the garage as a backup refrigerator, like when we have parties or we just need whatever. We run out of room. So I moved everything over to there. But then like a shit, because it always sucks when your refrigerator breaks and
you lose a lot of money.
Well,
That's basically what happens.
But it turns out my wife just overpacked it and it didn't close all the way.
It didn't close. It wasn't.
It just wasn't closed, didn't seal.
Yep.
And then once we moved stuff out of it and closed it all the way, it was working fine.
And a consumer support here, guys. Do not buy anything.
Here he goes.
Do not buy anything from Samsung when it has to do with their kitchen.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy their ovens. Don't buy their refrigerators. Nothing.
Let me put it in your opinion tag.
In
on
your
this.
opinion.
Hold on.
Why does that matter?
It's just
Otherwise,
whatever.
it's slander.
Slightly, yeah. Just technically.
All right, I'll continue then, since you're putting a disclaimer in there.
I'm being facetious somewhat.
But it's true. Jay's not an
it's
expert.
true.
He's
Not
just
expert.
talking.
It's
This is
just
his
his opinion.
advice
Right.
as a consumer.
It happened to me.
Although I have heard this from other people.
Me
as
too.
well.
I mean, I've done online search. I had the guy. Okay, here's the clincher. We have actually a guy who is a kitchen appliance specialist, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a repair guy. And the first time I called him, we have our garage refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's always some 30-year-old
Yeah.
refrigerator, and we were like, "Hey, there's something wrong, whatever." And then he's like, "No, don't get rid of this refrigerator because this is old enough where it'll last forever." And then he just replaced the seal on the door, and
There goes our
thing works.
sponsorship. There goes our Samsung
So-
sponsorship.
I had a very detailed conversation with him about kitchen appliances, and one of the number one things he said is do not buy anything Samsung. They're junk, they break, it's not worth the repair. He goes, if you just bought one and you can't return it, my advice would be for you to get rid of it. Just get rid of it, eat the loss, and get a real refrigerator. So anyway, this is from a guy who does this 24.
Yeah.
So he's right. And
So it's hearsay.
take my
Says it.
advice. Take
Right.
my advice because just
Anecdotally,
trust
he's
me.
right.
If you look it up, Go ahead. Look at YouTube. YouTube will tell you not to do it.
Everything in YouTube is okay. Wait, before we get off the rails, here's the link for the Australian listeners and viewers who want to fill out a form about whether or not they would come see a Nautakon in Australia or
And
us in general.
Don't we still have a generic link on the events page where it's
Yeah, there
like,
should-
come to our city? Like,
Yeah,
and
there
you
should
just
be a
go there and you say
form.
what city you'd like us to come to, and then
think-
we keep tabs. Of,
Yeah, I think technically it's under the extravaganza, but maybe I'll put it
Extravaganza.
under the events page so everybody could fill it out. There's also a non-Australian listeners, viewers. The only really difference between that is the price that we changed to USD. But if you're non-Australian and you're gonna fly essentially or swim, I guess, to Australia for this, fill out that form so we know we can kind of separate it out. Anyway. Sorry. Cut in. Go ahead. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, am I
Go
telling you to do your own research? I mean,
Yes,
it's
Well, this
okay.
is consumer
Do your own
research.
It's
Yeah, a
okay
little
to
bit
tell
different. Yeah.
skeptics and critical thinkers.
I'm talking
things
about
like
do your
that.
own science. We're saying,
Yeah,
if you're going to buy, whenever I make a major purchase, you always do some research, internet research to see what are the reviews, what are the professional reviews, what are the consumer reviews, and because some products are just not as good as others. Some are more expensive and it's worth it. Sometimes they're more expensive and it's not worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was
Sometimes
gonna
there's
say.
a price point where it's like, this is the sweet spot where you pay for quality, and then beyond some point you're paying for branding, not for quality. You know what I
Definitely.
mean? So you kind of want to find out where that sweet spot is. And that's very item specific. There are other things where, like if you're buying a camera lens, right, a lens for your camera, pretty much you get exactly what you pay for.
Yeah, that's
That's one of those things where there's no branding. You buy a $2,000 lens, you're getting $2,000 worth of glass. You buy a $1,000 lens, you're getting $1,000 worth of glass. That's it. That's pretty much a linear relationship, and that's pretty reliable. With other things, that holds off, but only to a degree, and then beyond a certain point, you're paying for bling or whatever. And then there are industries where, like, buy the cheapest thing because that's just as good as the most expensive thing. Like for cables, like cabling, like don't believe the monster cable kind of bullshit.
Yeah,
but
that's
cable's
a
a
lie.
freaking cable.
Yeah.
There may be ones that I guess are so cheap that you should avoid them, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's like an exception. For most things, just get a good basic, reasonable quality thing. Don't pay any extra. So
Definitely.
you have to know for each type of thing what the relationship is between cost and quality, and you want to find the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Refrigerators, because I've purchased many refrigerators, I've done the consumer level research, I've spoken to people who know what they're talking about for advice. It's pretty much you get what you pay for, and the more expensive it is, the better it's going to be, and you got to decide for yourself what's worth it. The more expensive ones will last longer. There's also an efficiency issue as well. If you buy a cheap ass refrigerator, you're getting a cheap ass refrigerator.
Yeah. The only good thing about Monster Cables, which does not apply anymore, is they used to have a lifetime warranty for every. If any of them broke, you could just swap them.
Yeah, all that's
But
gone.
that went away.
So
fuck
my
'em.
repair guy said Maytag, including their cafe line, which is what I bought for my kitchen. My wife and I cook like we're freaks. Like we're in the kitchen all the time. I use made-in cookware. It's more expensive, but it is worth it. Trust me. He said Frigidaire is good.
Yeah, Frigidaire is good.
But they
What's the high end one? It's
Sub-Zero
Sub-Zero is
are
Sub-Zero,
good, but
yeah.
but you can get a clunker in there. You got to be careful. So you have no excuse now, guys. Like you can go to ChatGPT or
it's so easy
any
now to do
prominent
the
AI.
online consumer
Use the
research.
research ChatGPT, the deep research one,
Thanks for the raid.
and let it chug overnight. Get to the point where it's ready to do the research. Have it ask you. I always tell ChatGPT to ask me questions before it does anything. This is what I want to do. Ask me all the questions you want to get more information that you need, and then I set it off to do its thing.
Someone asked, are modern appliances built to last fewer than 10 years nowadays? So the plant obsolescence thing, we talked about this on the show not too long ago. There have been studies. And in fact, it's just not true. There is not a relationship between the longevity of appliances and how long ago they were made.
I don't believe it.
It's true. They're not getting they're not getting progressively worse or less reliable. They don't last they're not designed to last a shorter period of time. That's just the evidence does not support that. It's just not true.
Wolf is a good brand, very expensive. Bosch is definitely. I have a Bosch dishwasher as well, and they're fantastic. You could tell that they actually thought about the ergonomics.
Yeah.
You know
But
what?
here's
Yeah.
the one thing I will say about appliances is that because the technology is steadily improving, you don't necessarily want an appliance that's going to last 20, 30 years. 10 years is a good time frame because at that point in time, you want to upgrade because they're going to be more efficient, more energy efficient, better quality. Right? Like today's dishwashers are much better.
Super energy efficient.
Than the dishwashers from 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
You don't want a freaking 30-year-old dishwasher.
Oh, that's true.
It's a
That's
piece of
definitely
crap.
true.
Yeah, the dishwashers they clean better with less water
And less energy.
and less energy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
for
only a
example.
little bit of
Fewer
radiation,
energy.
so you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it.
it.
So
Oh,
yeah.
hold on, Dan. What's your fridge brand? If it's 35 years old, I'm just curious.
Dan.
Dan. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan. Still going. I mean, some of those old fridges are also very cool, like the 50s
God, I love
fridges.
those. I love that.
You know, just like
Wha-
that.
Ian, why don't they just make a new one that looks like that?
They do.
I would do
but
that.
they're like plasticky, so they don't quite have the same feel.
I don't like
feel
it.
like
I'm still using an ice box where you got to put an ice block underneath
Yes,
it.
nice. Plus, I think if you jump in one, you can avoid any nuclear fallout. Right? Isn't that a
Kenmore. Okay, yeah, Kenmore's a good
Kenmore's a
brand.
good brand.
It's one of the
That's a good
good
one.
ones. So my wife and I quit soda. I don't
Why?
know, 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, sugar soda or just soda in general?
Well, I haven't had like high test soda in a very, very long time.
Test soda.
I was drinking diet soda, and
Yeah.
this is anecdotal, and I get it, but it is based off of a study. So I think it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I read this. But anyway, the backstory is that I've been having PVCs, post-ventricular contractions,
Premature ventricular
premature ventricular, premature.
contraction.
Hello.
So I've been having them, and they're uncomfortable. And there's people that get them. Everybody has them, and most people don't feel them. But if you get them frequently, you start to dial in on how to detect them, and then you notice them a lot more, and they can become very uncomfortable. So anyway, it's like your heart is beating, and then
It throws an extra beat in there.
and it takes a long pull, and then it has to, and then it pushes very hard to get all that blood out, and you can feel it, and it sucks. And some people have it in a debilitating way where they have to get ablation in their heart, which means they got to find the cells that are causing this to happen, and then they ablate them,
Explode
meaning
them.
that they burn them out and
Exactly,
they kill them. So anyway, I read an article. First off, I tried everything to get rid of them, whatever. I just lived with it. And then I read an article that said that they found a connection between diet soda sugar, right, whatever the chemicals that they use to make them sweet, and PVCs. So I'm like, okay. I mean, I should try this. So I did it. I stopped drinking soda. 2 days later, my PVCs went away, and I haven't had them since. So to me, it's I know
that is very anecdotal.
it's anecdotal. It's fine, but the point is, though, it was based off of a study. I don't want to go back on and see if they come back because I'm in my happy place. The cool thing is we stopped drinking it, and it was hard at first because I've been drinking soda literally my entire life, like since we were kids. My parents never edited us drinking soda at all. I was drinking high test soda my whole with caffeine and everything. So we got into seltzer, and then after about 3 or 4 months, I went from like really missing soda to I can't even drink it at this point because it tastes like swill to me. And I love seltzer water, and it's of course it's a lot healthier to drink. And we have we have a seltzer machine in the house now, so we just make our own. So in the long term, you're paying a lot less, and it's convenient. So I recommend you think about this if you have PVCs or any kind of heart thing going on. Could be the diet.
What you do is you see your doctor.
Yeah.
If you have and because you don't know if it's benign or not benign or whatever.
Oh, you absolutely. You can't self-diagnose.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you've been diagnosed with PVCs, if they do an echocardiogram, they'll tell you right there.
Overwhelmingly more likely that you'll improve your PVCs by cutting caffeine.
Yep.
Which is all again anecdotal, but that's all I had to do is I cut out my caffeine, which I had to do anyway. But that made my PVCs go away.
Yeah, and they suck. So salsa seltzer. Thanks, Silac. You're great, man. Oh, and by the way, Silac, I've been meaning to tell you. Okay, never forget, man.
Wait, I have the video.
We can't hear you.
Whoops, I have the video that I wanted to show you.
Okay, do it.
Let's look at this video. So you guys were talking about
Yeah.
elbow situations.
Oh, here it is. This is the elbow guy.
This is the elbow guy?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was
well,
picking
here it is.
that up.
I was like, I
We
thought you
will
saw
do
it.
this
All right, here we go. Let's see if this is anything
This?
that you would recommend. Oh, he's got headphones. Okay, yeah, let's get the headphones in. Here's the science. Let's see if there's any science behind this.
Right, so look at my dad's elbow. So it's been like that for about 4 weeks, and they were out on Saturday night, and they got chatting to a nurse, and the nurse said, "You need to break it with a book." So we're going to break it with a book. Right, are you sitting down or are you standing up?
All right, pause it for a
How
second.
hard? What
Okay.
percent?
Steve, at this point, would you not recommend that somebody do this?
Of course, I would not recommend.
Because
this.
what could it be? What do you suspect this guy has?
I mean, it could just be a cyst.
Okay.
In which case, he's going to pop that cyst by hitting it with a book.
And what would that
But
do?
it could be something else.
If it is a cyst and it gets popped, is your body handling that okay, or could it be like putting nasty stuff into your
Yeah,
body?
it could be. What if it's infectious?
Yeah, because like it could be filled with pus. You're saying.
I mean, you probably would know if it were an abscess, but
Okay.
I would have an orthopedist look at it, to be honest
Yeah.
with
So
you.
don't do this, please.
Yeah, this is apparently a wives' tale, but like some of the people were saying in the comments, ganglion cyst possibly, or bursitis. I don't know what those are, but
Yeah, a bursac. Yeah.
Yeah, there. So here's
Here we
let's
go.
See what happens.
50%.
Do it.
50? You said it hard.
Well, not,
Come
I
on,
don't
do
mean
it,
like
man.
break me
Do
fucking
it.
elbow.
Yeah, like.
Here we go, guys. Don't blow this one, Ian.
Right, you ready?
Watermelon,
I'm not gonna block
watermelon.
it.
One.
He's gonna box it. Yeah.
Yep. Of course that was going to hurt. Is it going to be bigger?
My arm was broke.
Dumbass.
Is Coatl going to come out of there?
Is it burst? No. I think it needs whacking again, mate.
Oh, it has. It's bust.
That's it.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
Is it
bust.
bust?
It's bust.
Is it actually bust?
Touch
Bust.
that. That's bust. It's bust. I think the fucking the book's bust as well.
The book.
Ian. All right, so this is bad.
All right,
This is
dumbass.
bad. I feel bad for that guy because that could be lots of bad going on that elbow.
Somebody
there.
said it in the chat. Actually, it's called Bible bump because you would cure it by hitting it with a Bible.
Oh,
That's true. I
of
read about
course,
that, too.
of course.
Yeah, so that's not a good idea. It turns out.
Yeah, don't do
Anyway.
anything like that.
Yeah, I saw that. Or when you guys were talking about it, I was like, oh, wait, I saw that crazy nonsense. Speaking of other smacking, somebody sent us this one. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see if any of these things look reasonable. So here's chiropractic
I've seen these.
in general. It's a whole best of.
Oh no!
Plug.
Oh, yeah, this is just a joke. This one's crazy. That is like. This one's technically not chiropractic. I think it's technically like a Russian thing, but like they hit you with the soft mallet.
Well,
or
this is
whatever.
this is marriage counseling. What they're doing here.
Yeah, I guess that's what they do in Russia.
I can't see anymore.
Yeah.
That's scary.
I'm blind. It's Robin of many types.
Hang in there, hang in.
Okay. Anyway, I think they skipped the first one. Whatever.
What the hell did we just see?
I know. It's just it's very common on the people tag us in these compilations of. Ugh,
So I've
ouch.
seen the the hammer and the wooden thing on the spine.
Yeah, I
because
don't
they're trying to.
understand that.
So it could be this because lots of people have this. If you develop bad posture over time, your muscles can get you're physically more comfortable in a unhealthy position, right? So this type of thing, or really rounded, and you got to keep your shoulders back. And then what happens is you can actually develop like a little bump on the back, which is like a protrusion of your spine. And then and then this happens, and you go to one of these guys, and they think that they can just
Smack it back
push
into
things
place.
Back
back.
into place.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
I mean, so there are times when mobilization is appropriate. Like a physical therapist may mobilize a cervical joint, for example, if it's locked because of spasticity or whatever. That's fine. It has to be done very carefully, and you have to do you have to be cleared for that kind of maneuver. Make sure like it's not going to compress a nerve or something. If you have something more serious than that, you probably need surgery. But doing like a violent physical maneuver to try to manipulate like chiropractically your spine without like a proper neurological evaluation to make sure that it's not going to cause problems is dangerous, and you should, and of no proven benefit. It's all risk, no benefit.
When we talking about somebody like had a possible dissection, right? From
Well, that happened. There are
from their neck
many
adjustments.
reported cases and case series of people who they get a tear in their artery
And you're dead.
because of neck manipulation. You could stroke out. You could die. You could have a stroke.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, ultimately, I could see how some people could think this is funny or whatever, but in the end, like those people are in massive pain. You're trusting people. This is the way I kind of frame it in my mind. It would be like you go to your neighbor and you say, "Hey, help me with this medical problem I'm having." It's
Yeah.
on par with that, regardless of the fact that they're doing it to tons and tons of people. There's no little to no science behind any of it, and like if you're going to put your well-being into the hands of people that do that kind of stuff, then
Well, there's a professional ethics for a reason, right? The whole idea of first do no harm. If you're going to say, I'm a professional, I know what I'm talking about, let me do something dramatic to your body, you got to make every care to make sure that, first of all, the person has informed consent, that what you're doing is way more likely to help them than to hurt them, and that you're not going to be, engaging in unnecessary risk, all of these things. But, chiropractors don't do any of that. They just are shooting from the hip. They don't have the science to back up their claims. They're just, it's like guru-based medicine. It's not a good idea.
However, they tend to be covered by insurance, right? Isn't that the case?
They've
So
been
there's a
very
weird-
aggressive and effective at lobbying for their own profession
Yeah.
over the decades.
So that
Doesn't mean that it's real.
right. I'm sure that confuses people. That it's like, well, it's covered.
Yeah, that's the
so-
problem. And the state fails because they then legitimize and license practitioners who are not fundamentally legitimate. It's even worse for things like naturopathy. There are states that license naturopaths. Does that mean naturopathy is legitimate? No, it means the state failed to do their job. That's
Yeah.
what that means.
I've been in a Facebook, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, discussion with a chiropractor guy I used to be friends with. He's, I'm not personally saying anything about the guy. He just, I guess his backstory, I think, is that he went to medical school, couldn't handle it, backed out, got into chiropractic, got his degree, and then became anti-modern medicine. The way I'm interpreting what he's saying. But he's just polluted with misinformation, and he spreads it. And I saw him post I can't even tell. This is one other thing. I don't know sometimes if he's putting something up because he thinks it's ridiculous or he backs it. But he put up someone giving a small wild animal, back adjustments. I know that he's behind. He thinks that giving babies adjustments is fine because I've seen him post about that.
Yikes.
And he's ridiculing me because I just have an English degree, regardless of the fact that what I'm saying is, I'm not coming up with the information I'm saying. I'm just following what the experts say, and I'm reiterating what the experts say. I don't have a nuanced, in-depth understanding of every little detail or whatever. Of course, you can't, because if you're not doing it for your career, you just don't have it.
Right.
But the bottom line is, the thing that bothers me is that his ego is out of control, because he really thinks that his, couple of years of being an assistant before he quit, learning actual real medicine, he thinks that qualifies him to actually, know how vaccines work and be able to comment on them. His information is largely
Bullshit.
wrong.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
in
Uh-oh.
like medical training, one of the things we tell like our trainees is, so like you go through, obviously 4 years of undergraduate school, and you do your 4 years of medical school, a year of internship, 3 years of residency, like in neurology, and then you do your fellowship, which is like subspecialty training in one particular area. and I've told my fellows, because this is basically true, that 90% of what you're going to be doing, you will learn this year, right? Like everything that you learned up to this point is just preparing you for learning the stuff you're actually going to be doing, which you're now going to learn.
Right. And you couldn't learn that.
You had to go through the steps.
Right,
You couldn't
right.
jump right to, because each phase prepares you for the next phase. Like the first 2 years of medical school aren't teaching you medicine. They're teaching you how to be a third-year medical student. And your third and fourth year of medical school aren't teaching you how to function as a physician. They're just preparing you to be an intern. And your internship is preparing you to be a resident, et cetera. You know what I mean? I mean, at that point, you can practice sort of general medicine, but the more specialized you get, the more detailed you have to go through your training. But again, so even after years, like even if you graduate from medical school with an MD, you're not competent to practice medicine, and you can't get licensed anywhere in the United States. You need to do at least 2 years of post-medical school training before you can get licensed. And even then, it's like the bare minimum,
Yeah, and then if you want to be, an actual expert, right? I mean, that takes, it could take a decade to get yourself to the point.
Well,
where
there's just degrees of expertise.
Of course,
it's not a cutoff.
Yeah, but when in
10,000 hours.
In particular, talking about vaccines, like we're saying a singular thing, vaccines, but there are spheres of scientific study that intersect with each other, but they're independent spheres, right? You need a microbiologist. You need all of these different expertises to build the aggregate collection of people that do this work, and they're all doing their little part to it. So which
is why the CDC's panel on vaccine recommendations had 17 people on there, because you need a
spectrum
variety of perspectives. For example, like one of the biggest divides is between basic science researchers and clinicians, right? So the one really doesn't prepare you for the other. You could be an expert clinician, meaning that you know how to make decisions about patient care, but not really have a good sense of basic science or how to do good science. You could also be an accomplished basic scientist, like really know what you're talking about, and not be competent to be a clinician. Obviously, the physician scientists try to be both at the same time, and many of them are, but that takes many years of training. You're training basically to do both of those things. Right, that's the clinician scientist, or sometimes somebody is what we call a triple threat, meaning that they're a researcher and a clinician and a teacher, and they're good at all three of those things at the same time. But anyway, but I've had conversations with scientists, people, bench researchers, right, who just don't have the slightest clue how to think like a clinician, right? And I've also had conversations with clinicians who don't have the slightest clue how to think like a scientist. And but you might. It's easy to be fooled into thinking that maybe the one gives you the ability to be an expert in the other, and it really doesn't.
Yeah, that belief that they have horizontal knowledge, meaning, hey, I'm really good at this one thing. Like Steve is a neurologist whose current expertise is within headaches, right? There are spheres of neurology that Steve just has to go, I'm not studying that. I'm not in that. Just because I'm a neurologist doesn't mean that I'm great at the thousands of different things that that people could become experts in. So the hubris is profound. And I was earlier in our conversation, I'm like trying to express to him, you have to be humble, man. No,
there's no humility with gurus.
No, not at all.
That is such a consistent feature of pseudoscientists and gurus, is that they are all about their own they're smarter than everyone else on the planet. Like if you're thinking that you are smarter than the scientific community at large, that there's an overwhelming amount of hubris in that.
It's unreal.
Thought.
It's
Even
unreal.
The slightest bit of humility would make you think, maybe maybe I'm missing something here. I should at least try to understand why they think what they do. But no, that lack of humility is an almost universal feature, and it is their fatal flaw.
I couldn't penetrate that at all.
You can't. It's very hard to penetrate.
If anything, he got angry at me because he took everything as an assault, where I'm just like saying,
right,
hey,
because you're challenging the thing that his career is based upon, which is his own personal expertise, right? You're not attacking the base of science or whatever. You're attacking his talent, his just ability to just know what the right thing is.
yeah,
And so, yeah, it is very personal because they make it personal. That's the whole point.
yeah,
Like if I'm wrong about something, it's not, I don't take it personal. It's like I'm following a process, and that process is iterative and it's never ending. And being corrected is a daily experience.
yeah, and you have
know?
to get okay with that, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, he's putting me down for my English degree, and he's like, you're riding on your brother's coattails. It's like, all right, I have been doing this for 25 years.
I mean, Bob's really popular.
I have been learning for specifically about not just critical thinking, but learning science and the scientific method and lots of different stuff. Doesn't mean I'm an expert in any of it. Not. And again, I just, and I reiterated to him, you and I have to follow what the experts say. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, he was riddled with contradictions where he'd be putting down modern medicine, but then when it served his purposes, he'd try to throw it in my face.
Yeah.
I did years of bench work. Well, I mean, but if you don't believe in modern medicine, then why are you saying that using the bench work as a marker when you 2 sentences ago? So there was just he didn't have any like real 30,000 foot top down kind of view of what he was saying. It was all sentence by sentence, whatever worked the best. And you can't. It's frustrating because I spend so much time talking to people who, lack these basic, critical thinking tenets that make conversations go so well when you're talking to a critical thinker. But when you're not, when you're outside of that ken, it's like you can't have a regular, relaxed conversation because you're literally trying to fight the ocean, trying to fight the waves coming in. And there's always another one, and it just never ends. It's relentless, and it's sad, and it sucks, but that's a real common place that a person goes. Humanity, we're riddled with logical fallacies, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But again, and I'm having like private conversations with him too. It's not just he posted recently about raw milk and how pasteurization is denaturing. He basically got the chemistry wrong of what happens when you pasteurize milk.
You mean crunchy milk?
And then he was saying how good raw milk is, and I said all the things that you'd think I say. Like it's, hey man, like there's very specific things that happen to the fat and to the proteins, but none of it elicits an immune response. 99.999% of the time, it's all perfectly fine. It doesn't do anything. And the conversation went sideways so fast. It's sad. I just was hoping that, just a guy that treats people, maybe he'd go, holy shit, maybe I really don't have the breadth of knowledge that I thought I had about vaccines. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't really get it. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some technology.
Let's do
Oh,
this.
the technology. So we got some. Also, somebody said, does it? I don't think Dr. Oz is a chiropractor. He's like a surgeon, isn't he?
No, he's a surgeon.
Yeah, he's like some sort of
Yeah, he's a
surgeon.
heart surgeon, I thought.
Or was that the other guy?
I could be wrong, but I
think
thought so.
The other,
I
the other
he
ding
was a
dong.
heart surgeon.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, all right, let's move on to some technology. We have a couple technological videos.
Now, Linda, raw milk can
Linda.
actually be very dangerous to drink. It's not just something that can make you have diarrhea or whatever. It could
That's a bit.
you could get a bacteria in your body that can
Oh
kill
yeah,
you.
that's definitely true. Yeah,
It's
not just
there's legitimate
the shits.
because that raw milk, the fact that it's not pasteurized, and if you ever go to a dairy farm, you'll see very quickly that anything to do with cows is they walk and live and breed and everything in a pile of shit. There is shit everywhere when you're using cows under any capacity, and it's so easy for some of that poop to get on the udder, and when they extract the milk from the cow, the poop can go right into the line. Maybe of course it's not a lot to farms that have the right equipment and everything, but we have to pasteurize it because of that.
There's a reason why we do it.
Yeah.
And it saves thousands of lives a year.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So just
for
be
fun.
careful.
All right, so let's watch this thing.
Shelby news, baby.
Shelby News. You familiar with Shelby?
Prepare yourself.
Here we go.
We are going live to Pleasant Mart in Shelby, North Carolina, where this grocery store is offering curbside anus bleaching.
Well, I was on my way up to Nashville and figured whatever y'all can do to take the rust off this wagon wheel would be good.
I just got mine done yesterday and showed everybody at the office. Jeff is so fucking jealous. My boss even gave me a raise.
Well, I tried it out, but I coughed halfway through and frosted the guy. They said I had to leave.
Hey, if y'all can get past all the hair and hemorrhoids to clean up this leather Cheerio, have at it.
Technology is they know.
They said they could turn my chocolate donut into a powdered one. I figured them boys at the YMCA would appreciate that.
Oh
Well, the old one-eyed monster has been prolapsed for a while now, but hopefully they can work around that.
All right,
So are you the sweet boy that's going to spit?
All right.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
So I sent this to
Stop at
Ian.
that point.
I sent this to Ian for a few reasons. One, that whoever wrote it, I mean, I'm assuming that a person wrote this and didn't have the AI do it because the jokes are too good. You know, it is funny.
Well, yeah, they're very rude.
Yeah, it's low end stuff. But the
Certainly,
point is,
yeah.
though, there seems to be some human thoughtfulness.
There goes my
in play.
breakfast. Sorry, Annie.
But-
But you're having raw milk.
But
so
you know,
don't-
I'm sure a lot of you noticed that this is 100% AI,
Yeah.
and it is not bad.
It's not bad. The audio,
the
the
AI
video
yeah,
is still bad. Not the video, the audio, right?
Yeah, but it's so much better than things you can do a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, the syncing with the vocalization is good. And again, you know, what are we, a year, 2 years, tops from not being able to tell fake from real anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming like a freight train, guys. But
I saw Steve giggling.
I can't help it. It's funny. It's funny.
We got that on camera.
It clicks into stereotypes.
The stereotypes are
You know?
extreme.
Like that office guy though, like I showed it to Jeff and he was so jealous. Like, oh my God. Like there are people out there like that, man. My favorite one is the guy with the microphone. You know, the first guy with that. He has this SM58. That I'm 100% sure that's what that mic was. I thought it was really
Mart in
funny. I don't know.
Shelby.
Yeah, check it out.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, look at that
whatever.
mic. Just open it up.
It could be. Oh wait. Oh yeah. Sorry. That's small.
Just the color alone.
Could
That's
be.
an SM58.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
look at the reflection in his
The nipple
sunglasses.
poking out
That's
is
good.
ridiculous.
Oh, I know. That's
Did you guys, either of you guys watch the movie Mountain View? I think it's called.
No.
Yeah, my wife and I watched it last night. Basically, like four tech bros.
Oh, yes.
At a mountain retreat.
Right.
And things go sideways. But the
Silicon
backdrop is that one of them just released a social media, platform where people could make AI generated content.
Yeah.
And then immediately people start using it to make fake news.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
it's literally
Overthrows the world.
causing mass chaos. Like cities are on fire. Hundreds of people are getting killed. Rebellions are happening because you could easily just you take any social tension and then you make a fake piece of news that blames one side for
Of
some
course,
atrocity
they
against the
want
other
to believe
side,
it, yeah.
and then suddenly everything blows up. And anyway, so that's kind of the backdrop of it. But it reminds me of this. But this is it's like this, but a couple iterations beyond that. But also in the hands of a social media platform where anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And make things that are indistinguishable from real news.
Yeah,
and it just causes social chaos.
We're gonna have big problems, and you can't prepare. Like we're all prepared. All of us get it, right? I mean, not to toot our own horns, but we're aware. We get it. We're watching these videos not just because they're ridiculous and weird.
We're tracking the technology.
Yeah, we're looking at the current state of things. I mean, it is going to get to the point where we just won't even notice anymore, and you're just going to have to question everything.
Luckily, right now, everything's so clean. Like, look at how clean he looks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the steering wheel is like pristine.
Well, that pregnant woman wasn't clean, though.
No, that's true. But that was like so overtly ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like, what the fuck? Like zombie level.
I know, it was zombie
nonsense,
level.
Like, so, whatever.
Anyway, the danger, like Steve said, is going to be that people will have knee-jerk reactions and they might not be convinced that it's fake. And then people will be able to say things like, "I never said that. That must have been faked." when
Yeah,
they
right.
did
That's
say
the
it.
other flip. The flip side is
that
it's good plausible deniability for anything.
Yeah.
That's not me committing that crime. That's an AI fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether, even if it's disprovable, it's just plausible deniability for that side, right? Because then some say, no, we analyze it and it's not AI, it's real. But then they won't believe it. They'll say, well, I heard it was AI, so I don't believe it.
Yep. I wish all of us good luck. I mean that with the best intentions. You kind of do.
Well, it's going to exacerbate the current problem, whereas people have their narrative, right? And now that we are a nation divided by narratives, and those narratives are fed by different information ecosystems, right? And that's it. So that means we're living in different realities. This, AI generated content, especially when it becomes indistinguishable, is just going to fuel that and make it 10 times worse.
Yep.
But that's the where we are now. It's already a problem. As you say, like you get into the conversation with the chiropractor, he's living in a different information world than you are.
Yep. So someone in the chat, Subvibe, said, I'm yet to find an AI-generated video that I couldn't spot. There's always a tell. I mean, that's probably true at this point.
But you do have to be aware of the toupee
fallacy. Yeah, just watch out because
you wouldn't know if you didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you might have seen something that was AI and you didn't detect it as AI, and you also didn't note.
Yeah.
Unless you're vetting every single piece of video that you see,
Yeah.
you have to say, how are you detecting the false negatives, right? And if you don't have a detection method for that, you don't know. You don't know. All you know are the true positives, right? So that's the toupee fallacy.
Yeah, I mean, right now I agree with you. I think we can still spot them, but
you can spot them when you can spot them.
Right. Yeah.
So certainly, I have spotted AI video and audio and pictures. That where I thought it was AI and it turns out it was. But of course, how would you know if you ever encountered something that was AI but you didn't detect it or you didn't even suspect it?
It's just the worst time for this technology to be hitting this hard. It's the worst freaking time, man.
I mean, can you always articulate why an AI video doesn't look real to you? Like, because I just made up that point of like, this is shiny, but like the steering wheel could totally be shiny. You know what I mean? Like in real life. Or is that just a rationalization I just came up with?
It could be a rationalization.
You know what I mean? I'm just trying to find something.
You're anomaly hunting, or you're just retrofitting.
Right.
I know this is AI, so let me find a reason to justify saying that it's AI.
Like, why do I know it's AI?
What you really need to do is a blinded test.
Mm-hmm.
But I have taken those tests. There are online. I mean, it's been a little bit of a while, but like where it's like, here's 20 pictures, and you have to say for each one, is this CGI or is it not CGI? Is it AI or is it not? And I do pretty good. Not 100% though.
Right.
But it depends on the type of content. So this included things like paintings. So of course,
I got a painting.
A painting, is an artificial construct anyway. But there were a couple of paintings, and some of these were there were real pictures that were chosen because they looked like AI.
Yeah.
And I did this during a lecture where I did the same thing. I showed several pictures. I chose a picture that was real, but it looked like AI.
Yeah.
And then I chose one that was AI that looked real, although there were subtle tells that I could then point out, say, no, did you notice they have 6 fingers, right? And then once you point that out, it's like, oh yeah, but you didn't look at that detail. It superficially looks fine.
We'll be in trouble, Steve, when AI can actually depict a bow and arrow really well.
That's one of my markers. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. You do.
For the generative art AI packages, Midjourney, for example, they can't make a bow and arrow. I think because the generative process doesn't understand engineering and physics, right? So it creates something with all the elements of a bow and arrow. They're just not in the right configuration and proportion, right? So it's not a functioning bow, But anyway, I think they would need to do some specific programming, where
it needs other AIs to talk to. Ian, bring up that image again.
There's a layer missing
of this guy
for that sort of thing.
I want to point out a few things to you guys that I just find really impressive. One, and the nicest detail is look at the coloring on his overalls. Look at the different the different shades of blue and the lines, the vertical lines that implies like the actual weave. Man, that is freaking awesome. Now look at the reflection, the light gradient on his seat. That is unbelievably accurate. It's really good. The reflection in his sunglasses, really good. The reflection on the steering wheel, really good. So I mean, it is getting like these. It is getting the source of light really, really well, which is hard. It's a big deal for it to do it that well.
This is like a Captain Disillusion segment.
I think it's really this is
help.
As weird as this video was. There's some impressive AI going on in here that I think, it's cool and it's scary.
Yeah. I have another one I want to show you, but let me hide it for
Okay.
just a second. And let me, hold on, bring it up. So basically the question is, what program do you think this was made in?
I think that's real.
As real as in what?
I know someone that looks just like that. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's real.
I mean,
Or like this.
It looks like a video game to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, to me, it's not generative AI. It's
not
a
generative AI. Mm-hmm. Would you believe that these are paintings?
Yeah, I could believe that.
Okay. This is a painting from Alex Colville from like the 50s.
Yeah.
So like this is pre this type of graphics that we're kind of used to of maybe like the, I don't know, 90s to early 2000s, right? Like mist level of graphics. But he was painting these things back in like, 50s to the 70s, I think it was.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's interesting that he
kind of came up with the style
Yeah.
People are like, oh, he's a time traveler clearly because he went to the future or whatever. But this looks like a computer program to me.
Totally. I've played
Right?
I've played
I feel
that
like
game.
I've played that game.
It's like it has like a Doom level of color, the color selection and the accuracy. Like the dog's face is clearly not accurate enough.
Yeah, or there's like blockiness
Yeah,
to stuff.
yeah, definitely.
In a weird way, or like, this one's pretty good. I don't know. There's like I don't know. There's an interesting noise factor too. Like you can see kind of noise in here.
Yeah, that is cool. He did the glass very well though.
Yeah, he like predicted CGI. There's a bunch of other ones. I don't have them right now, but they're pretty cool. Anyway. All right,
One
let's
more
go
thing,
on.
Jay, you mentioned the AI can't tell good jokes yet.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's one of my other benchmarks that I've been following. Every now and then I'll ask like each iteration of ChatGPT or whatever to tell me a joke, and they're terrible. However, one of the things I started doing was I asked it, tell me a joke in the style of Nate Bargatze, right? So you ask it to do it in the style of a specific comedian, and it gets much better.
Oh, interesting.
And then it gave me basically like a 2-paragraph routine that was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And it's the kind of thing that like if that comedian performed those sequence of jokes, I would totally buy it.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me a joke in this. I'm typing this out. Tell me a joke in the style of what do you want? Andrew Dice Clay?
No, Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg is like the classic one to do. You want Mitch or you want who do you?
Let's try more than one.
All right.
And then do Richard Pryor.
Oh, let's do Richard Pryor first.
Okay.
Richard Pryor about what though?
Just don't say.
Don't even say anything?
Just don't specify.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It's OR, right? Yeah, Pryor. Tell me a joke in the style of Richard Pryor. Let's see. Man, I remember the first time I tried to fix something around the house. Me with a hammer, like I know what I'm doing. Hit my thumb so hard I saw my ancestors. Then the hammer fell and hit my foot, and I said, now both ends of me in pain. I'm symmetrical.
All right.
That was not very good.
That was not very good. Maybe it's my delivery.
I am symmetrical.
I am symmetrical. Tell me a joke in the style of Andrew Dice Clay. This is gonna be
it's gonna be dirty.
It's gonna be really. What's in the bowl? Oh, so I'm at this fancy restaurant, right? Waiter comes over here and says, "Would sir like still or sparkling water?" I said, "I'll take boiling because this date's colder than my ex-wife's heart."
That's good.
Hickory dickory dock.
That's not bad.
She ghosted me right after the appetizer.
Oh,
Shock. Oh,
yeah, that's actually not bad.
but his shtick is so sticky. It's so stupid.
I mean, you don't have to have like high comedy here.
No.
I think Mitch Hedberg's style
in
would be
the
hard
bowl?
because the
Yeah, I mean those are.
Or
Those
do
are,
Rodney Dangerfield.
Okay, that's okay. Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah, Mitch Hedberg is fun because it's like
Whatever-
rice is something good if you want to eat 2,000 of something.
Whatever happened to the Dufresnes?
Whatever. I tell you, I get no respect. I took my wife to a fancy restaurant. She ordered a lobster. The waiter said, fresh from the tank. I said, great, bring 2. 1 for her and 1 I can talk to about my feelings. What does that even mean?
That's not bad, guys. What is happening? We are so screwed. I always have that.
It's like a filler joke.
No,
for
but
him,
it's not horrible. Like Steve stumbled onto something because I've tried to have it see if it could do anything clever that way. But yeah, it is better when you give it the copy this style thing.
From the chat, do Stephen Wright. That's a good one too.
Stephen
I
Wright.
think if they have a distinctive style, it makes it even. It makes
Okay,
it better.
do Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright. I can't do a Stephen Wright impersonation. I'll just talk it. I bought a humidifier and a dehumidifier. Put them in the same room and let them fight it out.
That's a real joke.
You know, that's like a.
That's actually
that sounds
one of
like
his jokes.
It's one of his actual jokes.
It is. Yeah. Make sure you tell it
I
not.
said in the style. Make it original. I'll
Yeah.
say, maybe. I installed a light switch that doesn't do anything. Now I just flip it when I want to feel in control of something. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's in there.
That's a fun. Steve Martin, yeah, King Tut kind of style thing.
Or
Robin Williams.
Oh yeah. What are you thinking, Steve?
George Carlin.
George Carlin. Oh
Uh-oh.
God, it's gonna be like.
It's gonna be dirty.
No, it's gonna try to be political and then not be very good at it. You ever notice how customer service used to mean someone helped you? Now it means press 1 to be ignored, press 2 to be insulted, and press 3 to launch into a rage that gets recorded for training purposes.
I think that one is good enough to be real.
Yeah, it's close. You know, it's close. All right, wait, we got some more technology stuff. Let's look at this.
All right.
So here's a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
How fast can technology
Solve it.
And take the jobs of the Rubik's Cube solvers?
Ready? Yep. Solved? Hey. Solved. So you guys.
That's gonna be good, dude.
How much time was it?
I don't know yet.
What do you mean you don't know?
What do you mean?
103.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How many
103 milliseconds. So
Wait, but it-
0.103.
It did that in less moves than.
Fewer moves.
It did that in fewer moves than I think most people's algorithms that they use. That was a.
Oh, like it was pre-set up to be like an easy solve?
I'm not saying that. I'm not because I couldn't verify that. But I just think maybe it was doing something that you have to be a machine to do. You know, I don't know. It didn't look like that many moves to get it there.
Well, it's like click, 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 click.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm surprised that the cube could handle that speed.
Yeah, and just like fly apart. Presumably they maybe made one that was more resilient. That's a little technology.
That's cool.
Fun there.
It's amazing to me that humans can do the cube like in seconds.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, it's crazy
Very
when you
quick.
see someone like they pick up the cube and they go, put the box on, their hands down, like they have it. They've programmed their head to have the solution. That's crazy.
Yeah. When you do it enough times, I guess that happens. All right, let's look at some throwback modern technology. 1997. Let's see what they were storing photos on.
With the new digital Mavica from Sony, you can take your photos on a normal floppy disk and see them on your computer.
They put it on the save button.
Easy and instantaneous.
Somebody sent this into us. Yeah, like, look at this technology.
And
I think
you
we were
don't
talking about
need additional
floppies
connections
like
or
a couple of
special
weeks ago.
software. The new digital Mavica.
That poor teacher.
Pretty wild. That's weird.
Man, my daughter found this video from like 1992 or whatever, and it was like when email was just hitting, and it's so cheesy, man.
Oh,
it's
God.
funny as hell. Like we're going surfing on the internet.
Oh yeah, I saw
Is
that.
that one? Oh my God.
That was cheesy as hell. And that's from
Yeah.
the 90s. I mean, oh my God. It's like, really? That was basically like that was the type of media we were absorbing back then.
Yeah.
We're so cultured now, Ian. You know?
Yes, quite very cultured. All right, let's look at this. This is a big poppin' video Do you know what's inside of an antelope horn?
I think they're partially hollow. That's what I would
Partially
guess.
hollow, you think?
If you tug on your antelope's horn, you'll
And your
notice
antelope's
something strange. Look closely.
What is that, a springbok?
The skull is growing up into the horn. So what would it look like if I pulled it all the way off? Well, most horns, like this bison's, aren't one solid piece. They're two. A bony core inside a hard sheath. In some animals, the core takes up a little of the horn, like in this goat horn, but in others, it takes up...
Those are beautiful.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So I guess the outer part
more
is keratin.
space, like in these kudu
hair, right? Isn't
horns.
that the,
So how
No,
big
that's
is an
true horns are
antelope's
not hair.
bony core?
They're not.
Like rhino horns are not horns. They are matted.
That's
hair.
pretty
These are
big.
True horns.
These are true horns.
Which are bone.
Right.
The
Oh,
outer
okay.
part is
The
bone too.
And then there are antlers, which are not bone. They're they're tissue that's deposited by the the velvet that the velvet is making the underlying antler. That's different as well.
Horns are really cool.
Yeah.
Horns are like, I mean, antlers are the removable, right? Isn't that the whole part of it? Is
Yeah.
that they shed them.
Yeah, you can
whereas
shed
the horns
them.
are not. Well, hopefully not, I guess. All right, let's see. We got some other weird videos, and then we can eventually go on to TikTok. Here's one. Oh, I just closed it for some reason. Here we go. Let's see. He's muted, which is probably for the best, honestly. But let's see what he says.
That what if I told you that everything that we've ever been told, everything, the opposite was always the truth,
including this?
Everything.
Thoughts?
He needs to say that a few more times. I mean that was the laziest conspiracy theory I've ever heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he could be goofing, but it's also just like, what?
Yeah, that could be a Poe.
Yeah, that's a Poe or no.
Yeah,
segment.
it seems like a Poe.
Yeah, it's so silly.
What is that, velvet?
All right, we got some other ones that we were tagged in. Or actually, I think, Jay, you sent me this one. Every 21 days, you change your... What do you think?
I want to hear what Steve has to say about this.
Even finish that sentence. Every 21 days, you change your...
Underwear.
Okay. That's probably not for the best.
Well, let's see. I mean, your dermis does turn over. Blood cells last longer than that. They're more like a couple, 2-3 months.
Any other guesses, Jay? Other than underwear?
But I know it because I watched.
Oh, right. That's right. You sent it to me. All right, here we go. Let's just watch it.
Every 21 days, you change your cellular memory. 21 days.
Cellular memory. What's
that?
What is? Okay, that's what I was asking.
Here we go.
You're the doctor. Doctor? Here, let's see what he did.
That's why if you can actually do any practice program and commit to it for 21 days straight, you're a completely different person.
Every 21 days you change your cellular memory?
Yep.
It automatically happens?
Yeah, and this is where bioantennas and all the cool things come in.
Okay.
So if you were to do the same thing as like a repeated practice, I call it incremental growth. So let's say that you do one push-up every day for 21 days.
Okay.
Your body in 21 days is going to acknowledge that that is something that's important to it, and it's going to start to shift everything around for that to be important.
Yeah, it just sounds like it's just more personal, made-up bullshit. You know.
I mean, I've read things about like to form a new habit, you need to do it for a certain amount of time for it to really.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why originally I'm like, maybe he's going there, but cellular memory and all that, it just gets a little.
It's just gurus making up bullshit.
Yeah, it's too vague.
Turn it off. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where it's also, is it a Poe? Because it's like almost a Poe, but it's almost. He's almost too believable.
Yeah.
What I hate is how the interviewers are typically so gullible
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, like you want the guy to go, what? That sounds like complete BS.
First
Like,
of all,
what-
define your terms. What is cellular memory?
Yeah.
And how do you know this? Show me your evidence.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, it's intuition. I just know it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it's one of those things where it's probably not even a real podcast. Like they're just recording it for TikTok or the social media.
Right.
All right. Well, let's see. I think we went through most of the stuff. There was maybe one more. Let me see what this video was. Oh, there was the Google thing. Jay, did you want to do that or?
It's more of a longer watch. I mean, maybe we could save it for next week.
All right, let's save it.
It's pretty cool. I think you and Steve need to watch it first
Okay.
before we.
What is it?
It's a
just have a primer.
former CEO of I think it was like Apple or Google or something.
I think it's Google.
I can't Google. Yeah, I think it was Google. You're right. And he's talking about what there's a specific type of AI that's being developed, essentially that can build full stack software, which means, in a big corporation, full stack software means you have like the user interface, then you have
It's all the different components.
very
Front end,
detailed
back end,
business layer
et
over
cetera.
business layer over business layer, all these different components that do different things and communicate with each other, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the database layers and the security layers and all this stuff. It's not like you just sit down and you write a piece of software and it's all contained in one file. Like modern pieces of software like Amazon, I use as an example.
It's modular.
You could have 1,000 teams that are in charge of these smaller pieces of the puzzle, and they don't have full awareness of the whole puzzle.
Yeah.
But they're, the way that the management hierarchy works and everything, like, it works. It's like making a movie. Like you don't have
We get to use AI now to have control over the whole.
not control. Like you could sit there and tell it, build me a piece of software that can function like this, and you describe the Amazon software, right? And then it could build it for you, and you could have it in a week.
Yeah.
And then it is aware of the entire thing in a way that no human is in any circumstance of a piece of software like that, like the software that's that big. So he's just saying, like, it's great, but imagine if this was given to someone that had bad intent.
Yeah.
And they could build a multi-million dollar piece of software that normally would take, a number of years to build and a huge company to
rounds of
fund.
funding,
And the guy's got it. And what could you do? And how dangerous could it be? So, I mean, I just thought it was a cool thing. I don't know how true it is, but it certainly seems like it's in the zone where I'm like, yep, that could possibly be legit. I also don't see why the guy would I don't know. I mean, of course, people, you never know what the hell's going on in somebody's brain, but it seems legit. It's definitely worth seeing and thinking about.
All right, so I think we're gonna move on to the TikToks, right? We have like the bleach one.
Are we doing OWIB?
Oh, you're right. I totally forgot.
Wait. We have that?
We have WIB. All right, stand by.
How could you forget, Ian?
Stand by. I know I have it. And
So full
totally
stack,
forgot it.
a full stack developer, Ben. I mean,
Let's put some hold music.
It could mean different things to different types of programming and stuff like that. But full stack developer means someone that understands the way that
How to make the pieces fit together.
Yeah, like understands the depth of a full stack and how they communicate with each other, and but I would imagine that there isn't, like, in a very complicated piece of software, you wouldn't have one person that would program everything or have intimate knowledge of everything. But there's infinite shades of gray. I mean, it gets complicated.
All right, so here we go. Let's hit the Will It Bread segment thing. Is the bread?
Bread.
Oh.
I made bread this weekend for Father's Day.
Oh, really?
And it was a lot of fun, and it came out really good.
Excellent.
I can't make a bad loaf now. I've been doing it too long.
You're too talented. Well, let me ask you guys, do you like banana bread?
Yes.
Okay, well, this is not banana bread. But what would you say if I offered you ice cream?
I would say I had a lot last night, and I don't know.
Okay, well, did you like it in general?
Yeah, I love ice cream.
What about bread? You like bread?
Is it bread ice cream?
What if you put them together?
Bring it out right now.
Ice cream bread. Okay, here we go.
Bob, you are screwed.
Bob, you are screwed. Oh, I forgot to do the video. Let me see if I can do this real quick. I took some video of my daughter making it. She actually helped make it. But this is a TikTok trend. It's ice cream and bread.
Yeah.
Let me just show you.
Jesus. Why didn't I think of this? He's taking a knife out of the cheese. Wow. Steve, what is happening? Oh, damn. Wait, let's show it. Let's show it.
So it's a little bit of a like viral trend. So who knows if it's good? The top one is the banana chocolate chip.
Oh boy.
And stuff. And then the bottom one is just vanilla. So the thing that you do is vanilla ice cream or any type of ice cream, a couple scoops, then like a cup of flour, then you do baking powder, so like you use self-rising. So it is kind of like a quick bread.
Do you eat them together though?
No, you could one or the other. So it's almost like kind of a cake. You know what I mean? I don't know what you guys think. If it's I think the bottom one kind of collapsed. It didn't quite.
It's very cakey.
rise. It's very cakey.
The bottom one's good.
So apparently this recipe is from the 70s. So it's like a, you know what I mean? It's like a hack in so much as you have ice cream, you put flour in it and baking soda, or powder rather, and then you got a bread going.
The banana one is very tasty.
That one's better?
Is the ice cream just serving as the milk?
I think so, yeah. It's serving as the milk, the sugar, I guess if you had a custard-based ice cream, it would be the eggs if you would do that. But I guess you don't really need that. So it's like a milk bread, you know what I mean? But it's like...
I like it.
Is it good? I mean, how's the bottom one? Did it collapse or did it not rise enough?
No, it is a little dense.
Yeah.
I mean, the crumb is dense, but it seems like it's supposed to be.
I was wondering if I needed to put more baking, because it says use self-rising flour, but I didn't have maybe the right ratio, so I was just kind of making it, because you just put baking powder.
Like the bottom one to me needs a jam or frosting.
Right. It is very basic.
Very vanilla.
So far as like very vanilla. Haha.
It's good though. It is actually very good. Like with a cup of coffee, it would be excellent.
Yeah.
Or you could put some strawberries on there.
Ooh, now you're talking. Hold up.
Some strawberries and cream.
Yeah, the banana one though, because it has chocolate
by itself.
and the banana pieces, it's yummy.
Right.
Good
I
stuff.
figured put a little something together. And
Did you try it, Ian?
No, actually.
Come over here and get a piece.
All right,
Come here.
I'll get a piece. Hold on. I want to put the video. I'm going to try to show you some videos of my daughter. My daughter's actually making it.
Wait, so this is what happened. You have a sweatshop in your kitchen.
Correct. Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's Connecticut. There's child labor laws. I don't.
You got to
think
put
they
those
exist,
kids to
right?
work, man.
I mean, come on. Yeah, it's like
You got to earn their nut.
that's right. It's like they can't live in the house. Otherwise, they have to be outside.
I had milk duds 3 days ago, and I hadn't had them in like 20 years.
Milk duds.
And they're still really good.
That's awesome. All right, let me see if I can put this together in an email and send it to me. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Oh God, I should have prepared this. All right, I'm gonna get that. I'm so amazed.
Well,
by how
Daniel,
much you...
keep in mind, SGU is my full-time job.
That's true.
So I mean, it's all I think about. It's like
all I do.
Yeah, it's only going to get more.
And it soon will be my full-time job.
That's true. Ice cream bread.
And Steve and I will become Voltron.
That's excellent. Now, I think a lot of people often do like a sprinkles thing on top.
Steve Black is on there, Jay.
You know what I mean? Like
I have
right
been
there.
talking to him.
So that's kind of like a popular method of breading. But let's do the
Steve, when are you moving back to
here
Connecticut?
thing.
We are in deep discussions right now.
Oh.
Yeah, the banana
Texas
one
must
is
be
good.
a hellscape.
Banana.
Banana one's good.
Okay.
The thing I work,
Let me
my
have some of
friend.
that.
So my friend lives in Texas, right? And the thing I'm worried about is, they're getting high 120s for temperatures out there in the summer. It's going to get to the point over
You're
the next.
getting too old for that, Steve. You got to come back to
reality.
But think about it, Steve.
Yeah.
It starts to get it'll get so hot there in a relatively short number of
hot is
years
it? No.
that by the time people go, holy shit, we better sell our property and get out of here. People aren't going to buy the property.
You got to get out.
You got to get
before-
out now before you've.
That is a legit point, but people actually there's a net influx into Texas. So
Right now,
far, yeah,
that means it's a good time to sell.
that's true. It's a very good time to sell.
And it's
But
not like you don't.
The probability of heat waves is going up,
Yeah.
right? And the probability of like temperatures that exceed your ability to essentially survive for any period of time outside is going up. Texas is one of those areas that could be hit with like really like if you don't have air conditioning, you'll die.
Yeah.
Kind of temperatures. And even if it's just a few
by,
days
chat.
over the summer, whatever, it doesn't have to be for that long for bad stuff to happen.
The point is, though, don't wait, because this isn't going to be a predicted thing. It'll just happen.
Yeah.
Once word gets out, holy shit, property values are plummeting in Texas. Everyone's going to try to sell to try to get out early, and then you're screwed. Why?
Meanwhile, the winters are becoming very mild in Connecticut.
Yeah,
that's true.
At least they have been the last 7-8 years.
Steve, you know what to do, man. Just gotta make it happen, bro. Because if you want to play D&D with me and Steve, you gotta make the move.
I kicked the cable. I'm sorry. I don't actually.
And we
know
want
why
you.
It's being weird.
We
Only
want
feels like
103.
103. I mean, come on. That alone, I just forget it. I gotta shut up. We went to Florida.
It wasn't that bad, but there were some hot days down there.
I mean, it was high 90s, and then it rained every freaking day, which means you get this swell of humidity, and then it's just, I can't describe it. It was just not pleasant to be there. Star Wars was fantastic, and Harry Potter was fantastic. The best roller coaster I ever went on is it's at Islands of Adventure, and it was the Hagrid's roller coaster.
What the frick?
Just a really cool concept for a roller coaster. Yeah, I like this banana bread. Well, actually, the vanilla is good too. Yeah, I like them both.
Yeah,
a
but
lot.
I do think I want to try the vanilla with some strawberries and whipped cream.
Okay, I'll do that. Chat, don't worry. You'll be able to see it in a second. I think. Let me. I don't know why this is being.
Ian, I'm seeing no signal.
I know. That's what I'm
He'll
trying
fix
to
it.
address.
So
it's being weird. Stand by, chat.
I can't. I have a particular problem with humidity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's like what 40%, that's like my ideal humidity. But once you get up to like 75%, like to me, I'm like I just can't relax. I can't cool off, and I get, I get like almost like a heat thing going on.
Humidity's bad. Somebody mentioned
go back
Canada's
to
good
NDI.
as long as we don't become the 51st state.
Why not?
Here's the thing.
Join us.
Obviously, one of the many things. But one of the things that bothers me about the whole 51st state thing is, just to be pedantic, wouldn't each province in Canada be its own state?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think
all
they
of
asked
Canada
them.
wouldn't be one state. Wouldn't there be like Quebec would be one state and Victoria,
Oh,
whatever.
finally. The
Nova
Quebecois
Scotia
would
would be one
separate.
state. So how many provinces are there in Canada? I should know. this, but I
That's
don't.
a good question. We're dumb Americans, so hold on. How many? Let's guess. What do you think? Six?
I think there's like
5,
7,
6 or 7,
eight?
yeah.
How many provinces in Canada? 10.
Canada
All right,
knows-
let's name them. Don't look at the chat. Name
Oh my
'em.
God.
Saskatchewan,
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Nova Scotia,
Nova Scotia. Okay.
Newfoundland,
Newfoundland. Yep.
Hitmabop Fideas,
Ontario,
Ontario. Yep.
Quebec.
What was that? 4 or 5? 5, 6 maybe. I think that's 6. Yeah. Hold on. One. Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland.
What's the one on the west coast?
Greenland. It's Greenland.
Greenland is not. That's part of Denmark.
I'm right. You're wrong.
Okay. There's
I'm predicting the future here.
there's 4 on the west.
Yeah.
And there's 1 or 2 that are. One is an island.
Isn't that Victoria?
No, it's like where the mussels come from. You're not a seafood eater, so maybe you don't
No.
know. It's PEI. What's that stand for?
PEI?
Yeah, somebody wrote that too.
Prince Edward Island.
That makes sense.
Where Anna Green Gables is from. Okay, anyway.
British Columbia, Manitoba.
Yep.
No, I'm
Wait,
just
no,
reading the
not
chat
Manitoba.
now.
No, Manitoba.
British
wait.
Columbia.
Oh, yeah, Manitoba is one. You're right. There's a
Alberta.
I said don't read the chat. What about it's British
Columbia.
Okay. And then there's a type of potato it's named after.
Red.
No. What red? Type of potato.
Russet.
No. A golden one.
Golden.
Cornelius.
Yeah,
Cornelius, never
Cornelius
heard of it.
Brown.
No, what's
yeah.
the first? No. What's the first name of Cornelius?
Frankie.
Silver and gold.
Oh, Chuck.
No.
That is
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yukon Jack,
Yukon.
baby.
Yukon. Okay, this is one I've never even heard of, which is it starts with an N. I don't think you guys know it because I certainly don't know it either. Nunavut.
Yeah, somebody
None of it.
Nunavut.
Yeah, none of it.
Yes,
None
we're
of it.
smart when the chat is telling us all the answers.
I know, really. And then there's New Brunswick, which we didn't actually answer. I don't think.
I think
so. It would be 10 states. We'd go from 50 states to 60.
Yeah, but listen, I don't even like talking about it because it's ridiculous. It's offensive.
Oh, that included
you know.
the territories. I'm sorry. That's not all just the provinces.
Northwest Territory.
I would want what I would want is I would want California and New England to go to Canada, and then they can have it. They can have the rest.
What about Connecticut? Can we like do a little hop and a skip with Connecticut and Canada? We could be part of Quebec. Well, I'll speak French. I don't give a damn.
I'd learn it.
I'll learn it. I'll learn French. It won't be good French, but you know. I mean,
One of my favorite things that happened because of SGU was that we were what was it? We were in. I think it was during a live stream, and I asked this French guy.
I have a live stream every morning when I get up.
So it was a guy. It was a guy that lived in France, moved away, and then moved back to France. So I asked him, I mean, is it true, this whole thing? Do the French actually go, ha, 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 right? So he goes, you know, when I was living in France, the answer was no. But I moved away and then I moved back. And it turns out that everyone's doing it. It is something that is widely done. And even if
don't notice it because it's in the background.
Yeah, even if that's not true, I just love that story because it's such a stereotype in the United States. Like you can't see, especially like a Disney movie, forget it. You can't have a person speak French without that noise being made. You just can't. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's very Ariel, Little Mermaid, the French chef, who's like chopping up the crab.
That's a good song.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, let's look at. I got some pictures from when I was making it with my wood.
Let's watch the
Let's
pictures.
look at this. So this is first off Kirkland signature, no big deal. Shout out. I have a Costco card.
Kirkland makes good products, man.
This
baking powder.
This is the baking powder. I think it is kind of like on its way out. That's why I didn't like the rise was not very good. I think this is the same baking powder I used when I made that semolina bread.
So we ate that with expired baking powder in it.
So good luck. I'm sorry.
Trying to poison us.
How bad can it
just
get?
slowly
It's a dried good. You don't forget about it.
It's let's see if this okay.
What
so
is
here's-
that?
That's the ice cream. So you got to melt the ice cream fully. So I left it out overnight, or like not overnight.
Oh,
like,
that
like
is freaking adorable.
Yeah, in the fridge. So it softened up fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my daughter scooping. And then it was okay. It's like not.
Okay,
not
yeah.
the
So it's
best video.
basically your cream and sugar.
Yeah, it's cream and sugar. So like it's pretty, you know, it's a far of a 70s hack, you know what I mean? It's not the worst.
good.
It's not the worst. And it's a little baking powder she's making it.
Then it's flour, baking powder, and love.
Exactly, yes. And not.
Did you drink the
definitely
rest
not
of
her
the ice
hair.
cream?
Yeah. I'm trying to get my calories in. Trying to pack them in, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if I have one with my youngest in there. There's some kosher salt. Salty. The little baby's coming up somewhere. I don't know where she is. Hold on. Stand by for cuteness. There's the little hand.
Let me see.
There's the little hand. There's the little itty bitty hand.
Oh my
She's gonna stir
god! Oh my god!
it. Just little and stirring.
You could have put the bowl a little lower.
I
for
know.
her.
I know. Their stool is not quite high enough for her. No egg. I don't think so.
Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
bread.
She has that
Gets its
cutesy
wings.
voice.
Yeah, I know she does. It's cute. All right. Anyway, so that's that, and then you bake it, and it looks kind of pale. So I put butter on top to like make it a little.
Oh, the
bit
butter
of a
on
thing.
top was good.
That
yeah,
was
that
it.
helps.
Can
right?
we grade this now?
Oh yes. Sorry. So let's go to the Will It Bread segment that everyone knows and loves, and nobody complains
This is going to be
about.
quite high, actually. I quite enjoyed that. That's either first or second tier.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So yeah, this is one with sprinkles, and I feel like that might be.
I mean, the banana chocolate
nice.
one
was very good.
was very good.
I'd give them both an A.
An A? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
like
on
them a
par with
lot.
Paloma, but not
Oh, yeah.
quite the brown bread or Jay's bread, right? Like those are still. Yeah, so that's good. So yeah, chat, go ahead and make this. Seems like it was a hit.
It was good,
it's,
man.
It's simple, you know what I mean? It's like not really 2 ingredients, but essentially 2 things that you mix together.
Ian, your grading thing there is giving me the finger.
It is, yes.
It is kind of giving
It's
me
not
the finger.
nice. It's not nice.
Yeah,
This
I'm
is
so
a
sorry.
long
I do-
plan.
We got to get
plan.
some worse. Yeah, this is just the long con. We got to get some worse breads. I'll make
Yeah.
some terrible breads. And Chad, if you have any other like breads of your locale that you think we should make.
Yeah, so send us suggestions.
Send us suggestions. We will
with
try to
full
make it.
recipes
Mhm.
and instructions.
And also send us any wacko TikToks.
Oh yeah, that too.
And what email address should they use?
I mean, well, I don't want to send it to everybody. Just send it to admin at the Skeptics Guide. That's me, and so that'll be probably for the best. So you don't send it to Kara and she blocks us. But no, that'll be interesting.
Kara would, she'd love 1,000 emails.
No, don't do that. So yeah, if you do that, local bread, yeah, I mean, sure, whatever. Any type of, it doesn't have to be purely bread. Like obviously you were making like things that are slightly not bread.
they're
it's
bread
like a tart,
adjacent.
bread
Yeah,
adjacent. You know, so things that you think would be good. Also, there's somebody who said they were going to send us yeast and they never sent us yeast.
What
So send
happened
us
to
yeast.
that? This
Want
is starter,
the
you
yeast.
mean?
The starter,
Is it-
sorry.
yeah.
For like it was a sourdough starter or something like that.
Yeah, because I would definitely.
We
do
would
that.
try it. We would try it out.
So
All right. So I
TikTok
guess we'll
now?
go to TikToks. I think that's it for Jay.
Have a
unless you're
good
hanging
week,
out.
guys. What's that?
No?
Well, how long will you be?
It takes us 15 minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll do it quick.
Yeah.
We'll do it quick. All right, here's some
Yeah.
hold music chat.
Bye, guys.
Let me set up for Steve real quick.
Yeah, it happened.
Bang out some tickety talks.
Oh, shit.
We're almost at 50,000 followers on TikTok. We need to increase that by 2 orders of magnitude.
Shit, this other one got stuck in my ear. Fuck. I'll get something sharp.
Then we'll start making the big bucks or something. I don't actually know how we get the big bucks yet, but I don't know if anybody's really making the big bucks on TikTok. I'm sure somebody is making something.
big
You know what I
money.
mean? Like, but I don't know. It's like there's a couple cool people on there that people suggest. They're like, hey, you should be part of SGU. Or
Yeah.
go on
Go
the
to
show.
the upstairs bathroom in my master bedroom. Bathroom. To the right of the sink, that tray there should be some tweezers.
Okay, let's get that going. Oh, let me stop all the stream and stop all the downloading. Wednesday. Okay. I'm back. Not on TikTok or Insta. I hear terrible things. Yes, I know. Yeah, we can't post all the videos on Insta because they're too long. It's like
What's the limit on Insta?
It's like 3 minutes, I think.
3 minutes?
Well, you can technically post them longer, but they just don't do as well as shorts.
You can
And-
edit them down.
Yeah, but the hard part is you kind of say a lot. So it's like
I know, it's all
editing.
gold. Like
it's all
every
gold.
word
Every word
is absolute gold.
I know, but I do post it on YouTube, the wide version. So
There you
like
go.
that, you know,
So
obviously
we got
you can do
YouTube.
whatever.
I
YouTube and
could
TikTok.
do like a deliberately short one each week. For
I mean,
Insta.
that's a good question. We should do now that we have more time
Pick
to think
one
of that.
that's like this is the Insta one.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. We'll hold you to. I'll put up 1 minute clock. That would be actually a challenge. It'll be like 30 seconds or less. Why is this BS? Oh, that rhymed. Now I'm keeping it. All right, let's stay on this. Let me make sure this is working. Okay, very good. All right, stand by chat. Here we go.
If you have something stuck in your ear, you can pull it out with a pair of tweezers. There's no reason not to do that.
Yeah, just don't push
Just
it
be careful.
in with the tweezers. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's one of those things where like the public health advice is don't stick anything in your ear, not because it's bad, like doing it
Inherently.
itself is inherently bad.
Right.
It's because if a lot of people do that, a lot of people will puncture their eardrum.
Right.
Right. So we're trying to minimize accidents by not telling people don't do anything dangerous. But if you like whatever, you could even like because doctors will do it. Like I've taken what's called a loop. You know, it's like a wire with a little loop on the end. You go in there and you clean the wax deep out of someone's ear. You can do it. It's fine. It's safe. It's just that you got to know what you're doing. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
And you got to know to avoid poking your eardrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to pay attention. I had a friend of mine who I was using a Q-tip, and he left it in his ear, and then he put his shirt on, and it punctured his eardrum. I was like, "Oi!"
Or if you get something stuck in your brain, if you could reach it through the nose, you could pull an Arnold Schwarzenegger and go
Oh my
crunch.
God.
And then- you pull it out.
People in the chat, obviously, they must have known Total Recall. Not the new one.
Total
We
Recall.
don't talk about the new one. I don't know.
Which did not hold up well.
Yeah, no, it's not
did
good.
not hold up
It's
well.
not.
It was at the time, it was a fun movie. I really enjoyed it.
very
And then I watched
80s.
it not too long ago. It's like, yeah, this is just did not age well.
Doesn't work. I don't know. All right, here we go. Oh God, why is this muted? Oh, that's why.
It's like I don't use
Yeah, do not
bleach
burst
in my
your-
house.
Yeah. All right, here
It's
we
like I don't use bleach in my house.
Why?
Because it's a thyroid.
Any new tinnitus research lately? There's always new research. I don't, there are things to do. They're just for tinnitus. Just nothing is tremendously effective. Actually, my new hearing aids, which I don't know if you can tell I have in, are designed to help manage my tinnitus. They include what's called notch therapy. So I have a notch in my frequency profile, which is right where my tinnitus is, right? Basically, I can't hear the sounds, right? They're masked by the frequency of my tinnitus. So my hearing aids do not amplify that frequency. And the point of that is to relatively speaking, rest those neurons with the idea that might over time diminish the tinnitus. I can't say I've noticed any difference so far.
All right, we good to go?
Which one is this?
This
Oh, this
one
is the bleach?
bleach, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
It's like I don't use bleach in my house.
Why?
Because it's a thyroid disruptor. Even the British Thyroid Association says if you've got a thyroid issue, you can have a look online, NHS, avoid bleach, using bleach, because it affects your thyroid. So I've got a little girl living at my house who is my child, and I do not want her to have a thyroid issue if I can help it.
So bleach, I always put them in my toilets. My mum came the other day, put it in my sink because she was like, you need to put bleach in it. And also, someone came around and put them in my flower pot because apparently bleach is good to preserve flowers.
Oh, so two of the professional careers of people that have the worst fertility are cleaners and hairdressers.
Yeah, I'll cut it earlier, I guess.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't need all that. All right, go ahead.
So this is another one of those videos that is, in my opinion, confusing hazard and risk. Hazard is, this is always the best analogy to use, in my opinion. And I didn't invent it, but I heard and I love it. Hazard is like a shark in a water tank at the aquarium, right? The shark is a hazard. It has the potential to kill you, to rip you to pieces. The risk of dying from that shark, however, is zero if you're not in the water tank with it, right? Getting in the water tank with the shark is a high risk. So you always have to think in terms of hazard and risk when you're talking about anything health-related like that, like toxins or chemicals or anything. In this case, what she's talking about is that bleach, chlorine bleach, is a particular hazard in that chlorine is similar to iodine, right? And your thyroid gland needs iodine to make thyroid hormone. Chlorine can get taken up instead of iodine. It could basically displace or block the uptake of iodine, and so it reduces the amount of iodine available to your thyroid and can reduce its production of thyroid hormone. That's how it disrupts your thyroid function. So that's the potential hazard, right? That is the potential mechanism by which it can disrupt thyroid function. The question is using bleach as a household product a risk? Does it get enough chlorine into your system to functionally disrupt your thyroid, for it to be biologically significant? A lot of things happen that are just not biologically significant. They won't have any measurable impact on your life, and you don't need to worry about them. You can't avoid all hazard. Living is a hazard, right? You're constantly surrounded by things that are potentially a hazard. You have to put everything in the context of risk. So what tells you about risk? Clinical studies, right? Not just basic science. Basic science tells you about the hazard. Clinical studies tell you about the risk. So there's essentially mixed results if you look at the clinical research. Some show there may be a risk if you have a significant enough exposure. Others show that there really isn't much of a risk. So it hasn't been definitively answered. But the bottom line is that if you're just using bleach as just for normal household use, and you're careful, right? You don't get it on your skin. You wear gloves. You don't, breathe it in right over the thing, right over the container. You're fine, right? The risk of that is probably way too low for it to be of any concern. If you are somebody who works as a cleaner, like that's your profession, and you're being exposed on a daily basis, that's a completely different situation, right? There, the risk of exposure and therefore having it be significant is much higher, and you may need to wear a face mask. Take extra measures to avoid exposure to the bleach, or use alternative cleaning products to minimize your exposure. If you're working with it in a laboratory setting, that's why they have hoods, that carry away the fumes to minimize exposure. But just like having bleach in your house that you use just for everyday stuff is not, there is no evidence to show that that's a risk. And so you don't have to completely remove all bleach, from your existence. But that's what they're talking about. It's the chlorine in the bleach. There is a potential hazard there, probably not a risk for everyday use. For more repeated exposures, that's an open question, then you probably should take steps to minimize your exposure.
Alrighty, bleach.
Yeah, don't drink bleach.
What if you just want to do a cleaning, bring the bleach
rule
into
one,
your
don't
system?
bleach your asshole. That's rule number 2.
But it needs to be sparkling clean. I don't know. Don't
What's next?
Borax it either. All right.
This fucking guy.
This fucking guy. I need an alert. I need this fucking guy.
He's
alert.
the worst.
He's the worst. All right. Let me start recording and hold on.
So you can't play the whole thing, obviously.
Okay.
I did want to specifically address the mass of the moon. I don't know if you can cut to that
All right.
piece.
Let's get to that part.
Here we go.
1%.
To go back a little bit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
play that.
Well, so then I'll go up to
whatever that hollow.
yeah.
Just when he gets to the hollow Earth bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Right there.
So I'll start from here and then stop. All right. Here we go.
Pluto is not a planet, that doesn't count. That's 72 times larger than the expected average moon to planet ratio of our solar system. Moons are just not supposed to be this big relative to their home planet, but sure, maybe we got lucky. Despite this, the moon is only 1% of Earth's mass. 1%, meaning it is way lighter than it's expected to be, and we really don't even know why. Unless, of course, the moon is either extremely porous like a sponge or a hollow shell. When looking at this data, NASA's own Dr. Gordon McDonald even said himself it would seem that the moon is more like a hollow than a homogeneous sphere. But oh, that's just the tip, and we ain't stopping.
That's good.
All right, we're rolling.
All right, more moon pseudoscience. This guy's giving us what we call a gish gallop of nonsense. He's just rapid firing, throwing out stuff, trying to hope that if you pile it up high enough, it will turn into something real. But if you zoom in on each one of the things that he's saying, it doesn't. Either it is just like a coincidence, or it doesn't really hold up. So I wanted to address a couple of things that we showed there. One is this idea that the moon is so much lighter than the Earth that we need to hypothesize something akin to it being hollow in order to explain that. So first of all, he fudged the numbers a little bit there. He says that the moon is 25% the size of the Earth. That's kind of a vague term to use. The specific property that we're interested in is volume, right? The moon is 1.2% the volume of the Earth. But I'm sorry, it is 1%. It's 1% the volume of the Earth. Wait, we're gonna have to back up, Ian. I want to get my numbers correct. It was 1.2% the volume and 1% the mass. I think that's it. All right, I'm going to start fresh. The moon is 1.2, 1.3% the volume of the Earth and about 1% the mass of the Earth. So it's a little bit less dense overall than the Earth is. This is not a mystery. The Earth is bigger than the moon, therefore it has more gravity, compressing things, squeezing things down. It has more iron at its core, And overall, it's denser because it's being crushed down more by Earth's greater gravity. So, of course, the moon is less dense than the Earth. That's exactly what we would expect. So that makes, and the numbers all line up nicely. It makes perfect sense. There's no mystery. And no, the moon absolutely could not be hollow. It has way too much mass to be hollow. Again, it's just a little bit less dense than the Earth. So that one completely falls apart when you do a deep dive on the actual numbers. He then goes on to talk about, and I've heard this from many people as well, that the moon quote unquote rang like a bell when you smack something into it. And there have been other instances where he's not even referring to where we have deliberately smashed satellites into the moon in order to measure the resulting seismic waves, because we can use that to learn about some of the interior structure of the moon. So, a solid object like the Earth or like the moon absolutely would ring even without being hollow. Not only hollow objects vibrate, when they are struck. And so that does, the fact that the moon continued to vibrate for days after being struck does not imply or require that it be hollow. And in fact, those very experiments prove the moon is not hollow. If you look into that data, those studies, they showed us some details about the interior structure of the moon, essentially proving the moon is solid, not hollow. So he is just completely wrong there. Everything else he says is either just true but irrelevant, or he's trying to spin it into some kind of a mystery or a conspiracy, or it's just straight up wrong. Like he says, like all craters on the moon are the same depth. No, there aren't. There are bigger craters that are deeper, than the smaller, shallower craters. It depends on how much energy the moon was struck with. So that's just not true. But it is true that the far side of the moon is denser than the near side of the moon, and that's something that has a physical explanation, and that's the kind of thing that astronomers study. It has to do with the fact that the moon is tidally locked and how long it took for the crust to solidify, etc. So these are, there are some anomalies that we learn when we study other worlds like the moon or Mars or other things that that we can study. And these anomalies don't mean that there are aliens or that it's constructed or hollow or something ridiculous like that. These are all things that scientists then explore to try to figure out what the answer is. And in this case, in all of the examples that he brings up, astronomers do have either very solid explanations or very plausible hypotheses. But and one thing that we could then know to a very high degree of certainty is that the moon is not hollow.
Hey, moon hollow. Let's see that one.
Is there a third one?
Yeah. So the third one is this. The garbage.
This could be the short instant one. I'll do this really quick.
That's cool. All right, so stand by. That's saved. Okay, good. Here we go.
The whole Pacific garbage patch is staged. The only picture... The whole Pacific garbage patch is staged.
What kind of cheese is you, huh? Mercury could be entirely made of cheese. That's true. Poe's law. I don't know if he's the Poe. He either way, he's like he does it consistently, so he's making some bank off of it probably. All right, ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
The whole Pacific garbage patch is staged. The only picture I've seen that is actually of a huge patch of garbage in the ocean, and it says right under it, part of the Pacific garbage patch. But I looked at the photograph carefully, and I could see mountains in the background. Well, there are no mountains in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So I did some research, and found out that this was the debris from the tsunami in Japan that killed 20,000 people while it washed whole towns into the ocean. So they were taking advantage of the death of 20,000 people from the tsunami to blame plastic for this.
All right, yeah, that's fine. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This guy thinks it doesn't exist because that one picture he found wasn't of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Yeah, I agree. That picture is not of that because it is very close to either that was close to an island, or I don't think it was, or that was a misattributed picture. But just because there's one picture that's misattributed, somebody saw that and maybe thought that was, the garbage patch when it wasn't. That doesn't mean the garbage patch doesn't exist. And you can go online and you can find pictures of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It exists. People study it. It's a real thing, phenomenon. A lot of it, of course, a lot of the mass of it is underwater, so you can't necessarily see it easily from above. Although it's mostly the bits of plastic which are buoyant, which float on top of the surface that you can see. And there's plenty of pictures and video of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's a real thing. People have estimated its size. We have used satellite imagery to map out basically its extent. It's pretty darn big. And it's not a mystery where it's coming from. There are garbage streams, that flow out to the ocean, and we can sort of calculate how much plastic we're producing and where it all ends up, how much ends up in landfills, how much gets incinerated, how much of it winds up in the ocean, and a lot of it is there. So it is a very real thing. One of the biggest components of it is actually discarded fishing nets, which produces a huge problem for marine life, and because that's kind of what gets them trapped in the garbage patch. And so that's one piece to this puzzle that there may be a way to deal with it just through regulation and enforcement. Just don't throw old fishing nets into the ocean. And we definitely need to figure out what to do with our garbage streams so they don't wind up in the ocean. And there are efforts underway to try to remove 90% or so of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch by 2040. We'll see how if that effort succeeds. It is underway, but it's a real thing. It's not a hoax. It's not people just saying, showing one fake picture and pretending that it's real based upon that. This guy needed to spend just a little bit more time on Google before he jumped on and made that video.
Alrighty, cool.
Did I make it? Was that less than 3 minutes?
Yeah, that's good. I'll cut it down.
All right,
some
yeah.
stuff that I needed to. Garbage patch.
Okay, folks.
All right. Well, so that was Wednesday, June 18th, and then.
Are we live streaming Friday?
Let me triple,
I think
quadruple
so.
check. I'm not sure if everybody else can make it.
All right.
I got to figure out if
I'm
can
free
make
this
it
Friday. I'm not
Friday.
free next Friday.
Oh, you're not free next Friday. Okay, so maybe that'll be
None of us are free next Friday.
Oh, right. That's true. All right, everybody. So listen to the show this Saturday, which is coming out. Any spoilers you want to
I don't know.
reveal?
I haven't really. I'm still
prepping.
I'm still putting it all together.
There's some stuff happening tonight. And I guess that's it. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
You're listen on Patreon, or you could listen to audio only if you want it on Patreon. All right. See y'all later.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Ian.
No
Bye.
problem. Bye. Bye.